Hi guys, I hope you're all well and welcome to episode 125 of the James Layton Fitness Podcast. So within this specific podcast, I've named it Fed Up With Using the Treadmill, Do This Instead. By that I mean I think a lot of people get bored of traditional cardio sessions, and looking at what I'm going to discuss within this specific podcast should hopefully make things significantly more interesting and enjoyable, but at the same time not taking away the goal of cardio within the fat loss phase, which is just burning calories. So I think firstly it's important to put this into context, put our goals into context of what we're trying to achieve in the fat loss phase. So firstly, it's just critical to realize that the goal of fat loss phase is to create the energy deficit, to have you burning more calories than we're consuming. That's our main overarching principle that we need to have in place to lose body fat. However, we have two goals in the fat loss phase: to lose body fat and to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. And this is applicable for males and females. And that second objective of maintaining as much muscle mass as possible dictates that we must have weight training. Heavy weight training is the foundation of our routine. And then once we have that in place, we're merely using cardio and also decreasing calories as tools to continue creating the energy deficit needed for fat loss. We have weight training first, and then we're adding more cardio and or decreasing calories to continue creating the energy deficit to bust through fat loss plateaus so you can continue making progress. However, I appreciate with regards to the cardio component, people get bored of the traditional cardio methods on the treadmill, the bike, or cross trainer. I'm going to discuss a strategy within this podcast that will make things much more interesting, and that strategy is something called barbell complexes, which I would suggest typing into Google or YouTube after this to understand more about it. And the simplest way to explain it is all you're doing is basically circuits with weighted exercise. You're using light weights, you're choosing weights you could typically probably do for about 20 to 30 repetitions, and then you're performing these exercises back to back for a period of time, and then you're resting, and then you're repeating. So a couple of examples: you could do squats, overhead press, barbell rows with light weight you could typically do for 20-30 repetitions. You could do that for approximately a minute, so you could do 20 seconds on each exercise. You could then rest for a minute and then repeat for approximately 10-15 minutes. Or you could do front squats, standing overhead press, and Romanian deadlifts. So you notice the exercises I'm choosing here, big compound exercises that typically are using lots of muscle groups, and that's quite important because that will allow you to burn more calories as opposed to choosing isolation exercises. And I really want you to add variety. You need to remember that the cardio component within the fat loss phase, the whole role of it is just to burn calories. We're not athletes, we're not looking to improve sporting performance. If your goal is solely fat loss, you just need to look at these barbell complexes, just tools to burn calories, and therefore you can really feel free to mix things up and change some of the time ratios as well, the work to rest ratio. So feel free to do 30 seconds work, 30 seconds rest, or a minute work, 30 seconds rest, repeat for about 10-15 minutes. And that sounds relatively easy, but I can guarantee you it's extremely difficult because these, as I mentioned, big compound exercise, you're doing high repetitions. It can be extremely draining, especially when the rest periods are relatively short. And because you're using these big compound exercises, because they burn a lot of calories, you don't need to be doing this for particularly long to burn a lot of calories. So as I mentioned, 10-15 minutes total doing these circuits is all that's needed to burn a lot of calories. And it's also important to note that when I'm discussing these barbell complexes, it's important to note that this isn't a replacement for the heavy weight training sessions. Remember, we need that heavy weight training in place to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. And these additional barbell complexes or cardio are just tools just to burn calories to create the energy deficit needed for fat loss. So as I mentioned, type that into Google, barbell complexes, YouTube. You'll probably have to get some sample routines as a replacement for some of your cardio sessions. But as mentioned, use this in addition to your heavy weight training because we need to maintain as much muscle mass as possible within the fat loss phase. So thank you very much for listening. If you're still yet to download my free ebook, How to Set Up a Nutrition Plan, if you go to James Layton, Layton fitness.co.uk, you'll see a tab at the top of the page called free ebook, and you can download that immediately. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you very much.